Am I live? I think I'm live. What's up, guys? Jeremy with Lifted Adventures. This is
I don't.
Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour. Is it? I think it's going through. I got it. It's working. Pretty sure. All right. We got Stefano on with BlindstuffMTB. He's looking down at his phone to see if
There
it's
we go.
working.
Now
Is it
I got it.
working? There. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
We had a little hiccup there, guys. So apologize about that, but it's all good. Things working out. But yeah, how you doing, Stefano? Thanks for coming
Doing
on.
great. How about you, Jeremy?
I'm doing pretty awesome. Just trying to figure things out and not goof up too much, but it's all good. So, getting right into it, just like we start every show, I make every single person say Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour 5 times as fast as you can.
Okay. Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour, Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour, Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour, Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour, Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour.
That
That's
was
challenging.
that's
Definitely
that I
challenging.
told you that's yes. That is exactly why I made it that. As I said it the first time, I was like, okay, this is extremely hard to say. But yeah, so everybody, real quickly, this is Jeremy's Pedal Power, as Stefano just said 5 times, super fast. I interview YouTuber mountain bikers, and we just have a fun, serious, completely serious time. There is no joking allowed in this live stream at all. Do not. Hey, Kyle, you said you were not going to talk. We were going to make fun of Kyle. I forgot to tell you, Stefano. Kyle said he was not
Like,
going to talk at all until we
oh,
made fun of him, and I was going to make fun of his like shaved legs or his lycra or his road bike or something like that. So, but no, we just interview and just have a fun time. And like I said, I got Stefano on here. He's got an awesome YouTube channel where
right.
he does a lot of POV. He travels around the states, and you're down in
Down
Miami,
Miami.
correct?
Yep. All the way at the southernmost point. Well, not southernmost point, but close to the southernmost point in Florida.
You're in the warm area. I'm a little cooler up here in North Florida,
Yeah.
but you got some awesome trails down there, and you've posted and you've grown your channel off of a lot of that, huh?
Yeah, we're super lucky down here. Florida is super interesting in the sense that the base terrain is not very good,
Yeah,
and instead of being this huge hindrance, what it's really become is a way for trail builders to look for new things.
yeah.
So some of the experiences that you can have here, and not only in South Florida, but Florida in general, are super unique. And you end up riding things that, despite the fact that they may not have much sustained elevation, when you think about the ups and downs, it ends up being quite a bit. If I'm not mistaken, things like Alafaya, it'll get 300 to 500 feet in
That's
one
so
day.
awesome.
So that makes it pretty cool. And then at Virginia Key, we've focused a lot more on things like building features and stuff out of wood, and it just makes riding very unique. So for me, it's great. And trail accessibility is amazing. You can ride from almost downtown Miami into the trail, so that's super nice.
That's
And
totally cool.
it's weird because most people don't think of Florida as a place to mountain bike, and for me, it's been a place where I've learned so much about mountain biking.
That's awesome, and we really do take advantage of what we have here, and the trail builders are geniuses to be able to
Yeah.
take something so flat and turn it into something amazing like that. So that's totally awesome. Now tell me a little bit about your channel. Where start off. Tell me something about your channel. Tell me a little bit about you when you started and everything.
Well, so if I'm not mistaken, I started around late November 2016. POV footage was kind of picking up back then. It wasn't that prevalent. So, that gave me a chance to focus a little bit on an area of the US that hadn't been covered all that well.
Yeah.
And most of the writing that I've done and most of the writing that I've documented is the southeastern US. So if you kind of look through the videos, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff from Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. And there's some occasions where I've gone to other places. It's just that the Southeast US is pretty particular, pretty nice, and it's relatively easy to access from Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
So most of the POV videos that I've done are kind of focused in that particular space. And
I know me. I'm not too far from all that over there. You're still a good distance though. So
then, well, yeah, it takes 6 hours to get from Miami to the border of
yeah,
Florida. And then it's super funny because after you're at the border of Florida, all the states just like fly by. So as you're driving up, the truly painful part is to leave Florida. After that, it's so fast to get anywhere.
yeah. Well, you see, I find it the opposite because you can speed in Florida and you hit the other places and you get pulled over for doing what people do
Yeah,
here on 95. So
yeah, I
it's
know, I
crazy.
know.
Well, so tell me, how'd you come up with the name Blind Stuff MTB? Obviously, MTB is mountain biking, I
Yeah,
suppose.
it's one of those things where I'm not exactly sure. So it's like a combination of things. I had terrible eyesight, but like seriously bad
Yeah.
until probably at this point like 3 months ago, where I had eye surgery. I had PRK, which is a variant of LASIK. Nowadays I see perfectly, which is unbelievably cool. But before, I used to skateboard when I was like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And from blind skateboards, I thought like I can't really see all that well. And then I didn't want to use my name. And Stefano kind of sounded like stuff. So I just kind of put those two together a million years ago on some random forum online. And then just it stuck. So I kind of kept it.
So
And
it is Stefano then?
yeah, or
Okay.
Stefano, it's the same. When
Stefano.
I moved back to the US, it's like, you if people make the effort and
Yeah.
they do their best to pronounce it in a way that's reasonable, I couldn't care less how they pronounce it. It's as long as people try, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't sweat it when people get the wrong pronunciation at all.
Now, where are you originally from?
So I was born in Miami, but
Okay.
I lived most of my life in Venezuela in South America. So
Okay.
I moved back to US in 2012, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
when Venezuela got a little bit complicated or started to go a little bit downhill.
Hmm.
Kind of decided to come back home and just stay and establish myself here, and I love it. It's been great so far.
That's totally cool. Yeah, I always listening to you. I'm like, where does his accent from? And I guess I didn't watch enough for if you explained it on any of your videos. I didn't watch enough, but
I think I've commented on it a few times, but it's not something that I consider like a key part of the story behind the channel. So I don't make too much emphasis on it.
now, do you speak what language do they speak? Spanish there, or
Yeah, Spanish. Yeah,
Spanish? Okay,
yeah.
so you speak Spanish. I
Yes.
guess you would have to if you go there and you have the accent. So that
Yeah, I
kind of
did
makes sense.
elementary school, middle, high school, even
Yeah.
my undergrad I did in Spanish. So
Oh, that's cool. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I took 2 years in high school and 2 semesters in college, and I can't talk at all. It's
The thing also living down here in Miami nowadays, I kind of default to Spanish, and if somebody
yeah.
doesn't understand me, then I'll switch over to English. But it's amazing how the international community has grown here.
Wow, I didn't
We,
even think about that. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a melting pot down there.
yeah,
Wow,
we
that's.
always joke like, the border to the real U.S. is like an hour and a half north. That's scary.
I would probably agree with that. That definitely, yes, definitely. Coming down, going south to right a little bit. Yeah, I can see that. So, um, we got a lot of people showing up on the channel, guys, or
Oh,
on
yeah,
the live
pretty cool.
stream. Make sure this is a Q&A for Stefano. Um, ask him anything and everything. The questions obviously don't have to be serious. You can ask him what his favorite kind of cheese is. Stefano, what's your favorite kind of cheese?
I would have to go with mozzarella.
Mozzarella. Okay.
Not nice and simple.
No, life and simple. Okay, I like the sharp stuff. I like to bite and crunch a little bit. So,
Yeah.
um, so we'll get into some some serious questions. What's your favorite color and why? I like to ask this question and get some crazy stuff sometimes.
Wow, I don't think I have a favorite color. But
You don't have a favorite color? Yeah.
if I had to choose one, I would go with something like a blue, just because it's like incredibly versatile. You
Yeah.
can have a blue car and it's nice, a blue bike and it's nice, and it's not something like, I don't know, bright orange, where depending on the situation it would be great, in other situations it wouldn't.
Bright
And
orange
so
goes with
I'm gonna go with
everything.
blue. Blue, yeah.
I'd say bright orange goes with everything, especially you know other bright colors. As you can
Yeah,
tell, I hate bright colors.
yeah.
Um, another serious question that has nothing to do with biking. What's your favorite food?
I would go with Italian in general. Yeah,
Italian in general.
it's very hard to pick one particular dish to eat
Yeah.
forever. But if I had to choose one kind of style of food, it would be Italian. Just, there's so much variety. When you think of everything from lasagna to pizza and everything in between, it's always great.
Okay.
And it's very simple to make, right? It's not too complicated. So.
I can make a serious grilled cheese sandwich and heat up tomato soup. I am awesome at that, and my kids hate it. So I
I
don't
I
fix a
think
whole
it's
lot.
great. I mean, grilled cheese and tomato soup is a killer combo.
So now on biking, now that you've kind of traveled a lot lately, first off, you said you started your channel how long ago?
I would say late 2016.
Okay, okay. Now, was it started? Did you start your channel mostly POV or was
Yeah,
it? Okay, it was
definitely.
POV. What was your setup that you used back then?
Uh, Tech wise,
Yeah, tech wise.
oh wow, I had the Tech gimbal, which was at the time amazing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you look at the footage from back then, and it wasn't really all that great. What's interesting is that I was using a Hero 4, and I am still to this day using a Hero 4.
See, I still use, yeah, I use a Hero for until lately when I got my Hero 7. Uh, I've been using Hero 4 with Evo SS gimbal.
Yeah,
Uh,
same thing.
Gimbals are even with the 7, a gimbal is still outdoes it. It's just easier to set up on your chin than on your chest, and it doesn't suffocate me though.
Yeah, so for me, what I've kind of noticed there is that I have two setups now. I would say the Evo SS with a Hero 4, which works great for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I want to do a particularly light day and just, record for less serious purposes,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll just put the Hero 7 on the chin bar.
Yeah.
And I just zip tie it to the chin bar, and it actually works amazingly well. So when I did the Pisgah Enduro,
Uh huh.
on day one, I used the Hero 4 with the gimbal, and it was a lot of stuff to carry, and it was complicated. For day two, I just used a chin bar, and when you mount it properly to a chin bar, if there's good lighting conditions and everything is like perfect,
Mm-hmm.
then it works.
Yeah.
But if lighting is not great, then there's no replacement for a gimbal still.
See, I've seen a lot of channels kind of split in half now. I mean, you got people like now I'm going blank. Yuka's husband,
Oh yeah, Eric,
Eric,
BCPOV.
BCPOV. He still uses a chesty, and doesn't want to do anything else other than that. And then you got other people. Everybody else is going to the chin
Yeah.
bar and everything, but it's
So
like split in half and half, and I don't know which one. Almost can't tell the difference nowadays. Um,
yeah, and what's interesting about the way BCPOV does it, which adds so much extra work, and he's so good at that editing aspect,
hmm
is if you notice, he will sometimes use a slightly different angle. Like when he's going over rollers and stuff like that, that is so prevalent in
Yeah, he
BC,
does.
he has like a camera that's like around here and looks slightly further down. It gives you a much better understanding of what the
Kind of
roller
gets
looks
rid of
like.
that GoPro effect too a little bit.
Yeah,
That's cool. I never even really thought about that. He does that. Now that I
yeah.
think about it, he does. That's cool.
But then you have to record on two cameras and edit two video feeds together. So it's a lot of extra work
That's awesome.
for just a few things here and there.
Now speaking of BC POV, you just rode with them and
Yeah.
around your which trail did you ride?
Well, we went to it's actually called Kemp Murphy,
Okay.
but basically everybody knows it as JD State Park,
Okay.
and that is in Jupiter, Florida. So I would say 2 hours or an hour and 45 north of Miami,
Yeah.
and it's an amazing place.
What is that trail made up of? What is all that?
So that's what makes it so amazing. The base terrain there is probably the worst that I have ever seen. It's just like sand. So it would suck to ride it if the builders hadn't done what they did.
Yeah.
And what they kind of do is they use this kind of mixed shale rock where they,
Uh huh.
they they crush little shells and they mix it in with something, and it becomes super hard pack. So they've been able to use like they have small rolling hills, which I would say don't maybe 30 feet elevation tops, and using that this trail is incredibly flowy, and it just you
So
you
awesome.
ride it and it feels like it has a lot more elevation than it does.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that's I've been meaning to go down there. It's just a little too far for me to hit on a weekend, but that's totally awesome. Yeah, is it Coquina? Because we got tons of that stuff up here, and people crush Coquina.
I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I don't know the specific name of it. It basically looks like if you took little shells from the beach and just
Yeah,
crushed them all,
that's totally
and
cool.
hard packed it. But they've done an amazing job. You get this flowiness in the jumps that they've built, where it really feels if you pump into them properly, like you can do a good 20 seconds without pedaling, which pretty amazing around here.
That's awesome. So, first question from our viewers: Passion for hunting and fishing asks, "What bike do you suggest to buy as a good bike?" I'm supposing there's probably a beginner bike or intermediate bike. What's
That's
your
like
choice
the
there?
hardest question in the world,
Yeah, yeah, it
really,
is.
to answer, because there's so much that's dependent on budget, and everybody has completely different views on that, right? I always kind of tend to think of the best bike you can buy is one that you'll actually ride all the time. But if you really want to think about specifics, when you're on the below $1,000 range, I think almost always it's better to buy a used trail bike that's in
Hmm.
good shape, that has like a slacker head angle than a cheaper cross country bike, just
Yeah.
because it inspires a little bit more confidence. And I think there's a good amount of bikes that kind of fit into that category. The Giant Trans is pretty good. The Giant Stance is good, so long as you don't go to the first few that were made. Those had a little bit of issues that they used to
Mm-hmm.
break.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, I love the Jeffsy in general. I think the geometry of that bike is so nice, and the older ones nowadays can be found pretty reasonably cheap.
That's
If
awesome.
if you're thinking about newer bikes, there's wow, Canyon, Neuron. I think it's 6 or 7. It's like $1,600, and you get this amazingly well built bike that at this point I don't think there's anything that really competes with it on the market. And then from there up, I'm a big fan of Whitey Industries, so the Jeffsy around the $2,000 mark, and
Yeah.
then from there on up, as soon as you spend like 3K, there is not a single bad bike in the market. Just they're all amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We're coming to a point in our industry that in our sport that it's hard to find a bad bike
Yeah.
unless you're going, to Walmart and getting all those. Which Flatwoods MTB here you can see has I forget a Huffy or whatever he has. He's got but it's still an awesome bike. But no, it's hard to find a. I mean, you really need to look to find a bad one. A lot of the
Yeah.
ones around, as long as you're getting over, a grand, it's
Yeah,
pretty
and
hard to
and,
find.
and and the threshold is usually for the new bike, right? So that's
Hmm.
kind of where you set the number.
Yeah.
But that's why I think used bikes are so good and I'm focusing this on the fact that you mentioned that it was for a beginner bike, right?
Yeah.
Used bikes just get you so much value
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because they depreciate so quickly that buying a new bike is a luxury. It's not something that you really need. And I think I must have owned like 4 bikes before I decided to buy a new one. And yeah, it's nice, it's cool, it's like fulfilling to buy a new bike, but it rode exactly the same as the one that I had bought used. So
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, we got a wonderful another serious question from Matt over at Flatwoods MTB. He asked, "I gotta ask, what style of Cuban sandwich do you prefer, Tampa or Miami?" I don't know
I
this
have
type
to
of stuff.
I have to be very honest. I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I
Me
love
neither.
Cuban sandwiches, but I thought they were the same. So if if we can actually know what the difference is, I would, gladly say.
Yeah,
But
I Cuban sandwich is a Cuban sandwich to me. I
exactly.
have no idea.
But since I've never tried the one in Tampa, the obvious answer is I want like the one in Miami better.
I wouldn't know. I had a Cuban. There's a restaurant down the street here that fixes Cubans, and that is all I get. It, but they use
Yeah.
the daddle peppers in it and everything here, and it's the bomb. I don't know if it's anything different than you guys is down there, but
Oh,
so you're riding a YT. Which
yeah.
YT are you riding?
The Jeff C.
Jeff C.
Mine is a 2017, so it's the previous generation frame.
Okay. And what is that? Is that 130 up front and That's
150 front and
150.
rear
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
it pedals well. It's not the best pedaling bike I've ever
Yeah.
ridden. It's just for me, wanting to travel within the surrounding states and being able to ride in North Carolina and here and have a single bike, just it's incredibly convenient.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give up a tiny bit of performance and have like a very wide range bike because I've taken that bike to Whistler Bike Park, to Windrock, to every single place that you can think of, and it's done well absolutely everywhere.
That's awesome.
Um, you speak to some people here in Florida, and they'll tell you like, "Oh, you're better off riding something that has a little bit less suspension. There's more pedaling focused." And then what I end up noticing is that you're never faster or slower because of that.
Yeah.
It's just
I have the same experience, and you actually rode one of my you rode the Process 153, I think, and did a
yeah,
review over it, and you actually
loved it.
really enjoyed it, and I actually watched your video like 5 times right before I
That's
bought this
awesome.
bike, just see if I could see anything that I missed from it, and I love it. A 160 up front, 153 in the back. And that's the same thing. Everybody, like a lot of people are like, that's just too much for, Florida trails. I'm like, well, you know, I'm more comfortable with it. I can know and feel more comfortable sending off something, even though it might not be huge here in Florida. I'm more comfortable and
Yeah.
know I have enough that I can still also take it up north and get something great.
Oh, I agree 100%. And in the end, it's whatever you like to ride,
Definitely.
because especially in like the group of people that I tend to ride with the most, we have a pretty wide range. I think the shortest travel bike is like a 110 or 115
Hmm.
with a 130 fork, and he rides that like absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah.
So there's an element of personal preference that you just cannot eliminate. So whatever kind of fits for you is good.
Oh yeah. And I mean, um, a hardtail too. A lot of people, you see, I had a hardtail before this and I hated it.
I'm just not good enough of a rider
I,
to ride a hardtail. It's
well,
so
I'm
hard.
sure you are. It's just the comfort. I hated it. It's something you can do, but it's different when you have that full squish. Some people really like that hardtail and don't want to get away from it, and others really don't like it. But so now, are you planning on getting a new Jeffsy here soon, or the new one that came out,
Hopefully,
or?
yes, yes. I think this is a good year to change up, mostly because 3 years in, the bike still has some residual value. I hope I can get a little bit back from it. And the newer one pedals a lot better. They really updated the geometry. The anti squat is nicer. So I'm hopefully looking towards the summer to make a change. I'm just not 100% decided yet, but we'll see.
That's cool. So tell me what was your first bike? Uh, First mountain bike. What was your first mountain bike?
An Iron Horse Yakuza Kumicho. So Iron Horse is a U.S. brand
Yeah,
that then became like not very good bikes with time.
yeah,
But back in around 2007, if I'm not mistaken, they used to make amazing bikes, which were pretty cheap. And that was almost like a full downhill bike. So that was like I'd say I didn't get the most out of it. I think I kind of got more seriously involved in mountain biking once I moved back to the U.S.
yeah.
And that was with a 2010 Giant Trans, and
Okay,
that bike I rode a ton for like 2 years all
yeah.
the time.
You always say you want a new bike, but when you find that one that you're really comfortable with, it just kind of sets it off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing. I keep, every time I do a review on a bike, I try to make that very clear. I may like this or I may not like this, but it's my personal preference.
Exactly.
I can give you some general guidance, but the only way that you're going to be able to make a choice is if you invest some time and you try to go ride bikes. Thankfully, manufacturers nowadays do demo tours or all over the place, so
Yeah.
kind of keep an eye out for stuff. You can ride all these amazing bikes for free just on
Oh yeah.
any random weekend.
Oh yeah.
That's the only way to really know because sometimes like I remember riding the Mondraker Foxy and a lot of people said it was unbelievable bike, and to me it was just so incredibly long that I just felt awkward on it
Yeah.
because you had to make this huge effort to put weight on the front, so I
Yeah.
just I couldn't ride it.
So that's just it. And I'm 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", right in between, and it's got to fit me right. And which is weird because even though I'm 6'3", I'm supposed to be on an extra large. I can't ride extra larges; they're too big for me. So I ride larges. My last bike
Yeah.
was an XL, and it was just too big. So it's totally, completely, and utterly the person. Um, on a different subject, Crashing Dad. Shane asks if you could pick one sponsor to get you everything free from, what company would it be? I'm gonna start off. No, it doesn't have to be bike. It doesn't have to be mountain bike. It can be off mountain bike. What would your sponsor be?
I would think regardless if it's mountain bike or not,
Yeah,
I would probably assume it would be some kind of airline or some kind of transport. Because when you look at a bike, you
yeah,
get the investment is almost like a one-time thing, right?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, you have to pay for maintenance and stuff like
yeah,
that, but getting the bike is expensive once.
mm-hmm.
Then traveling is just
It's
so
nuts.
crazy
I'm
expensive when you
sure.
want to move around. So if I could get unlimited travel, I would 100% prefer that over the ability to have a new bike every
That's
day.
genius.
It's much more interesting to, find new places, get to know new people, just, end up in random locations and go ride and see what's out there. I would prefer that a million times over
That's
over
brilliant.
any kind of thing.
That's amazingly brilliant. I've never even, I've thought of other sponsorships and everything, and that's genius. I'm gonna start calling airlines right now and
That would be
offering them to
awesome,
do
right?
reviews over their airplanes or something. That's totally cool. Yeah. So, what about mountain bike world? Which would you? Uh, man, I can't get off the airplane. That's like free traveling. That's you go.
Yeah.
Who cares about mountain biking? You could go anywhere for free. That'd just be perfect.
Yeah, conditioned on the fact that I can take my bike with me. That would
Yeah,
be an important clause on
exactly.
the sponsorship agreement. Just to,
Everybody, Stefano is a genius and he has blown up the internet with this. I'm seeing comments. That is brilliant. Free travel, such a profound answer. Perfect. We can end the live stream right now.
we're done.
We're
Finish on
done.
a high note.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Please subscribe. Goodbye. No, on the mountain biking world, what would you be your sponsors? Obviously, you get one company, and it's a frame sponsor, and then everything else. What would be your ideal sponsor package?
You know, from what I've written so far, I just for me, I love the way that the Jeffsy has behaved so far.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit boring of an answer and a little bit safe, but I'd probably go with that just because I know it so well and it works so well for me, and I just kind of gotten used to how the
Yeah.
bike feels.
Have you had any
That
issues with having to call them or customer care or anything like that? Because that's the only negative I've heard about them.
so I had issues with my rear triangle. One of the spot where the bearings kind of part of the linkage basically started to wear, and
Mm-hmm.
I started to get some play, and I had to call them, and they replaced it for free. And in that sense, the experience was good. And then how they respond and how they treated me, it was good. They were incredibly attentive, but it took like a month and a half to
Yeah,
get a
that's
new
what I've heard.
triangle.
That's what I heard.
So, it's not all positive, but it isn't to a point where I would consider it that terrible. Because
Okay.
I've gone through warranty processes with like non-online shops, and sometimes it's just as bad. So
Okay.
the trade-off there for me is okay. You obviously lose something when you buy online, but for me, it's a valid trade-off. I do
Okay.
most of my work myself, and it's only when it's something particularly complicated that I need to recur to a bike shop for work.
Yeah.
So it's worked so far.
And they
Just
got pretty good prices too to dish out what I'm
that's
seeing.
the thing. When you really compare it to other bikes, there's always things to criticize, right? So I was like looking at the new Jeffsy,
Mm-hmm.
and the Pro version, the one that has the best wheels, has 27 millimeter wheels, and because they're carbon, and the one that's aluminum has 30 millimeter wheels. And for me personally, I would rather have 30 millimeter aluminum wheels any day over skinnier carbon wheels. So there's some nuances to what it is like to pick them out. I just think that from an overall value, it's hard to beat. And Canyon is also doing an amazing job, despite the fact that I've never actually owned one of their bikes. When
Yeah.
you look at what they're doing online, it's really hard to do better than
They
that.
look pretty sick too. those edges. But yeah, my buddy Trey Robert, he's got a Jeff C also, and he loves that thing, and he he makes fun of anybody else's bike if it's not a Jeff C. So,
Uh,
what other sponsors would you adore to have?
let's see. Well, if I were going to build a bike, nowadays I think I would go with a Fox 36.
Okay.
The new Grip 2 damper is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I would usually I think I would choose some kind of Shimano brakes. I'm not too picky with that. Above XT, everything is kind of the same thing. And the only reason I would do that is because bleeding SRAM brakes is a pain.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work, and I know how to do it, but Shimano is just so incredibly easy. Um, I've kind of been drawn lately to completely quiet hubs. So what is it?
um. Oh,
Oh God.
if you wouldn't have asked me, I would
Well,
have told you.
yeah, no, Noble Wheels.
Yes.
If you do a
Noble
build with
Wheels.
them, they'll sell you. I think it's the Onyx Hub or whatever.
Uh huh.
It's completely silent,
Yeah.
and that looks really interesting. The only
I'm
downside
the
I can
same way. Hearing the hornet behind you, the bees coming, kind of gets
yeah,
annoying every now and
there
then.
it is, the Onyx. Yeah, but Kyle and Shane helped out. So
There you go.
yeah, and the only downside I can think of that is that you hear all the other creaks on the bike, so it would concern me that then it's like, oh God, that's a headset. I can kind of notice it.
Another genius comment. Now I know I can't get a silent hub.
Yeah,
Fantastic. I'm gonna
whereas
have to get the loudest one because my headset creaks like an old
the
person.
E13 wheels that I have, which have been surprisingly good to me, they've performed amazingly. The hub is so loud that you just don't hear anything at all.
Oh, that's whenever it first came out, that was like super awesome. Everybody had it, have it, and even the cheap bikes had something. Had you could hear it more, but I don't know. The ghost sound, is something, but you also get to hear like who's the one that has the silent hub.
Mr. Tonka has a set.
Well, because he hasn't posted a lot of videos lately. Who's the other not BCPOV, not Van Can. Um,
I don't know.
oh,
There
there's
may
another
be some.
guy, and you can hear the sound of the tire hitting the ground.
Yeah,
That is my favorite sound of watching any YouTube video. I don't know why.
yeah.
It's like cutting through that magic sand with a knife. It's just like,
I know.
just
It
perfect.
it's I don't know is Crankzilla saying that Shane has silent hubs? I don't know.
I don't know. Shane does, I believe. Is it Shane? Shane,
Yeah.
do you have are you the ones with the silent hubs? But we'll let him answer. It's 17 seconds behind, so
See? Yeah.
um I
See,
don't know.
and
Yep, yeah,
you
he
know,
is. He is the one. Okay. So it's Shane. Sorry, Shane. It was you. Listening to you.
it's hard to keep track. It's hard to
Yeah,
keep track.
there's so many of y'all. So many of y'all.
Yeah.
So about YouTube channels. You've done mostly POV. Am I correct to saying that?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
I have some tutorial stuff, like I don't know. Some of the stuff that people like are the more basic ones, like how to set sag and how to do a tubeless conversion on
Yeah.
wheels that don't come tubeless ready and things like that. But I don't do that many of those, just because the kind of interaction that you get is different. Yeah, they get a lot more views, but you don't really get to connect that much with the people behind that are actually watching it. And I prefer to know who I'm interacting with and just seeing a bigger number there.
Yeah. Now with POV, do you because I mean, when you think of mountain biking, YouTube mountain biking, usually you think of POV. Do you think it's kind of? I ask everybody else this, but I love this question and getting the people's views on it. Do you think POV is overdone? I mean, I do POV. I do a lot of POV, mostly POV. You do mostly POV. Do you kind of
Yeah.
think it's overdone and it's kind of run its game, or what?
I think it's always been the same. You need to tell a story with whatever video you're making.
Yeah.
If you can do that with POV, then no, I don't think it's overdone. I don't think what I do think may be overdone is, just putting a video of you riding with no context.
Yeah.
If there's no context and it's just like a trail, um, why would people care about this specific trail? What do they want to see about the story? Like, who are the people that are behind this?
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things to do when you actually have to convey that there's meaning and reason behind what you're trying to show. So as long as you're doing that and you're using it to tell a story, I think there's a ton of time for POV videos to just keep on
Keep
happening.
going. Okay.
What I kind of have noticed that there's a bit of um, you know, like aggregation, as in the larger channels have started to get much larger, and the smaller channels get less views. And I don't know, I have no idea if that has to do with just people's attention shifting, or if that's something that's related to the way YouTube is
Yeah.
running their mystical algorithm, or what it is.
Yeah. See, I'm seeing a lot more. You get the POV, but a lot more, and this is with just YouTube. Period. A lot more vlogging. Just that is, and I just can't seem to either remember to do it, or maybe it's just not me personally. But that's just you got a lot of channels coming up and a lot more vlogging happening. Um, and
Well, but
that
that's one of the things that's super interesting, right?
yeah
You see so many channels, and I think that's one of the things that Shane does pretty well. That
yeah
he will ride the same place over and over again, and he constantly tells a different story about it,
yeah
right? So the last one was like about snow riding and how you're not supposed to stay on the trainer and whatever. If you haven't watched the video, it's a really cool one. I would say go watch it. So when you see the people behind them and you start to know them, I think that's a lot more, draws you a lot more in than just, this is my local trail, take a look at it.
yeah
Because,
yeah yeah
you have to be like an insanely good rider for that to be the only interest that there
yeah.
is.
You see, Crankzilla has a good point. POV mixed with B-roll and vlogish style, like BKXC, and every larger MTB channel is where it is at. And that really is kind of
Yeah.
true. Those are the big guys are really starting to do that, and you're seeing Shane's channel grow like crazy, and that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
what got you in YouTube? What got you to decide to start Blind Stuff MTB?
Oh, it was without a doubt watching BKXC videos. And I think
Yeah,
that applies to a ton of people.
yeah, same here.
You know, um, it, what I admire from him the most is his resolve and his drive to do things. It is
Hmm.
not specifically that it was about YouTube or about mountain biking. And the way he positioned his story really towards the beginning when he had like 2,000 subs,
Yeah,
it's just like, if you want to go do this thing, just go do it. And I kind of took that to heart. I was like, just like, okay, I mean, if he can make videos in California, I can make videos in Florida.
yeah,
The difference is that he envisioned it as in like a life plan. For me, it was just something fun and to use as a creative outlet. And despite the fact that I don't ever intend to pursue this full time or as a job, I just love doing it because it's something that's a ton of fun and has given me the ability to connect with all these unbelievable people that I would have just never had a chance to connect with.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Now, leading on that, you just not making it your full time job, and Flatwoods just asked what I was going to ask. How is your work life family balanced, and how do you make time for both that, and obviously you got to make family most important. How do you make
Yeah.
that and then work? How do you make those in time and then make time for YouTube?
Um, that I've never liked the work-life balance expression, because the truth is that work is an integral part of life, right?
Yeah,
So
it is.
I've kind of preferred, and just like life balance. You have to do all these things because, man, it would be awesome if we could just bike all day, but eating is also nice. So the way I see it, you always have time to do the stuff that you really want to do.
Yeah.
If you sit at some point and you're like, oh, I can't do that, I don't have time to do it, it's because you don't really want to do it that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just kind of used that strategy to push my way through certain things. And if you look at my posting schedule and you kind of go through my videos, you will see how there are periods where I'll do a video a week for a bunch of weeks in a row, and then I won't do any videos for a month.
Yeah.
And that's just, the cycles of life. Sometimes work is a lot more complicated, sometimes it's less. And well, Shane said something there that's pretty on point. You just lose sleep. So
Yeah, exactly.
when
What's
the day is
sleep?
over and everybody, family's asleep, and then you just put on your headphones and start editing, because getting the video is usually the easy part. It's putting it together that consumes a ton of time.
Matt goes, that's why I quit my office job and got a mobile bike show last month.
See, there you go.
That's awesome. I mean, God, that's one way to do it. Now, so if you don't mind me asking, what do you do? What's your job?
So I work in software. For a bunch of time, I used to work in financial services software. So we
Okay.
made mobile banking apps basically.
Oh, cool.
So when you download an app and it looks exactly the same as a different bank, we used to make that specifically geared towards Latin America.
Okay.
But for the last 3 months, I've actually been focusing most of my time on trying to make an adventure tourism marketplace. So think of Uber, but instead of cars, it's finding leads that would be able to guide you in places that you don't know or you want to ride.
Oh,
Let's
cool.
say you have a day to go to, I don't know, Pisgah, just because I do that a lot. That time is precious, so you really want to be able to grow ride the best trails. So the general concept behind it is having the ability to find somebody who will take you there in a very authentic, easygoing kind of feel, where it kind of feels right with the buddy, but just pay him something.
Yeah.
And that's a platform that I've been building a little bit. It's almost kind of done. I have no idea if it's going to work or not, but we'll see. There's other companies that have tried it and have failed before.
Mm-hmm.
There's other companies that have done similar things and succeeded, but
They push on
at
through.
this point, it's just starting to work through getting some of the, well, we call them leads, some of the demand, some of the offer side. So some
Yeah.
people that would be able to offer these services. The adventure tourism segment right now seems to be in this position where you have two things. You have like the big red bus that goes around the city, which is a very commercial experience, or you have the Western spirits of the world, which will charge you a couple $1,000s to go mountain biking 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing in the middle. So what I'm trying to do now is bridge that gap in the middle.
Okay. We're getting some bad signal. I don't know if it's me or if it's you, but we got all that. So that's awesome, dude. Now, you're
Good.
clear. You froze again. Now, can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Um, are you married? I was gonna
I
ask you.
am,
I was
yes.
gonna ask you out if you weren't. So, and
Oh man, sorry about
you have
that.
a.
Too late.
No, it's okay. You have one. Is it a
A couple
girl?
years late.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I have one daughter.
You got one daughter. Okay. How do
Yes, I can.
how do they feel about your YouTube channel? Obviously, I'm sure your daughter loves it that daddy's on YouTube and famous. How does your uh, better half, I call it my better half, how does your wife feel
Well,
towards
she's
you?
incredibly supportive, which is what's really important. My daughter's not old enough to enjoy it yet, so
Okay.
when she is, I hope she is proud. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But my wife is incredibly supportive, and she watches videos and encourages me to go do them. And we've found a great balance where I can, sometimes take 4 days off to just go ride with my buddies, and
That's
I
totally
will
awesome.
forever ever be grateful for that. So
Yeah.
couldn't be better.
And you must got a good job. Your job must be pretty awesome to allow you to go do that too, right?
Well, then just, again, you don't sleep, you get the ability
Yeah,
to
there you go.
get more done, and then
That's awesome. That's totally cool. So
uh,
with your YouTube channel. You've been in it for a good amount of time now. What are some tips and tricks that you've kind of learned along the way that you kind of wish you would have known at the beginning? Are you there? Did I lose you?
You gotta go make stuff. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking about that. You
Oh,
you have
okay.
to go make the videos. There's no way to, oh,
I guess it's delayed
yeah,
for
I'm
you.
seeing that it's kind of freezing. I'm sorry about that.
You're fine.
That's weird. The internet here is tends to be pretty good. Okay. So yeah, I just think the most important thing is go out and make the videos. Um, if you don't practice, you won't really publish the first few, but if you don't practice, there's no way to kind of understand what makes you unique. And that's the other thing, right? So when you do this, I always think you have to deliver something that sets you apart from everybody else, and you almost always do that just by being yourself and being authentic.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in seeing what other people are doing and trying to learn from them, but it's not about imitating, right? It's like what strategies are they using that work well that I can adapt into what I am doing.
Yeah.
And so long as you do that, you have nice charisma and you bring presence to the camera. Uh, those are the most important things. Really always strive to make quality. If you just make random videos and put them up, it doesn't work.
Now, for the new people that might have not heard of your channel, what would you say separates your channel from other YouTube mountain bikers?
You know, One of the things that I particularly enjoy is kind of showing that you can really come from anywhere. Florida is this incredibly flat state, and still have the ability to progress and do better and learn when you get the opportunities to go visit other places.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, "Well, the thing is, I can't do this because of X and Y," and it usually is just because you don't put the time to practice whatever you want to achieve. So when I rode the Pisgah Enduro, it was an incredibly challenging thing for me to do. And my day one was absolutely fantastic, and my day two was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And I came out of that in a position where it's like, okay, now I know I'm going to race next year, and it's going to be so much easier. And I kind of want to, show people that you can take on these extra challenges, and it's not the end of the world. And have these conversations often. People sometimes will say, well, but I'm not going to win the race, or I'm going to die mid race. It's like you don't really do those things because you want to win. There's no way
Yeah.
to win as an average, you know, a regular person. You just kind of do them to go have the experience and have fun, make it to the end,
Hmm.
and you finish. That's it. That's a success, and it really pushes you to do more and more things.
That's
So
awesome.
nowadays, I'm kind of working on making sure that there's some variety in what I show, and just from the perspective of an average person who isn't doing this full time and doesn't ride a bike 24/7, just whenever I get a chance.
That's awesome. Now, on that, you've done several enduro races. What all have you done any XC races?
I've done time trials that we do here in Florida, so they're like shorter XC races. They'll run like 20 minutes, so you can basically go 100%, and those are fun. But I've
Interesting.
never done like a 6 hour race or anything like
Okay.
that.
See, I posted a video about it too. I did my first XC race, and that was a bomb. It kind of sucks when you're sick the day before and everything. But now you've done some enduro races. How many enduro races have you done?
Like three, if I'm not mistaken, or four at this point. But I only did a video really about one.
Did you
Um,
place at any of them?
no, no, definitely not. For me, a good result when you look at how good the locals are is
Yeah,
if you're solid mid pack, you know,
you're doing good.
you're doing good.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
even in the amateur class, some people are just so insanely fast
Yeah.
that you never really know if people are sandbagging or not. But
Oh
just
yeah.
the level at which people ride is amazing.
That's insane. You see, I'm doing my first enduro race this spring, and I'm super pumped and love
Which
talking
one
to
are you
people about.
doing?
I'm gonna go do. I'm definitely going to Oak Mountain.
Oh,
Um,
that's an amazing
have you
place to
done
ride.
that one?
I haven't done their enduro, but I've ridden there, and
Yeah,
it's such a good place to ride.
yeah. I rode there when I first started riding a little over a year ago, and yeah, it seems like an awesome place. That one, and then you got the what'd you say? You said it earlier.
So Coldwater and
I'm
then
looking at that
Pisgah.
one.
Uh,
Pisgah, I'm looking at interesting too. But yeah, Coldwater's the next month after that one.
yeah, and then they do one in Beach Mountain,
Okay.
which is apparently pretty good. And there's one more in Georgia. I can't remember the name, but that one's also fun.
Do you plan on doing more races this year?
If I have the time, I'm not exactly sure yet. So as you know, the year progresses, if I get the time to do it, I will definitely go do as many races as possible. But
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
we'll see.
Now, the time trial ones that you have down there, 20 minutes. You say you go all out 100% for 20 minutes straight?
Well, 100 when I mean by that is as much as I can do for 20
Yeah,
minutes. You
okay,
know.
okay.
Yeah,
uh,
it's
uh,
just it's a at least for me 20 minutes is a time frame where I can really push really hard.
yeah,
If I do like an hour race, I start to lose steam towards the end of the race, and it feels very different, but it's still very much a pedal to win race.
that's
So,
awesome.
the last one that we did, I think I did like an 18-minute run or something like that, and the guy who won did like 15 and a half.
Yeah,
And just, to me, it's insane to think you could cut down 3 minutes
that's nuts.
from
You know, like
18.
because Graham Swamp up here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a kick butt trail. I mean, it'll leave
yeah,
you, wondering who you are. Um, People ride it. An average rider gets it, in somewhere around 50 minutes. That's the average rider does one lap there. These guys, like a buddy of mine, rides it in 35 minutes or something like that. It's
wow,
insane. And then a guy got on an e-bike, rode it in like a top-notch guy. He rides it in 35 minutes. He rode it in 33 minutes. And there's a
wow,
guy, the king of the mountain or whatever it is
yeah,
on
on
Strava,
Strava.
rode it in 30 minutes and like 30 seconds on a regular bike. It
Yeah,
just
it's
nuts.
insane.
Some of these guys are insane. So with all
Yeah.
these races and these you traveling and everything, what has been your favorite trail that you've rode?
Oh man, there's no favorite trails, but
No,
you know, I'll say this: the trail that popped into my mind when you asked the question
mm-hmm.
was Alpine in Oak Ridge, Oregon.
Really?
So I can't say that that's my favorite trail ever, but for some reason, it's the first one that I thought of.
You see,
Um,
you've ridden. You got done riding Whistler pretty recently.
Well, I mean, I'm not discrediting Whistler. Whistler
Yeah,
is one of the most amazing places I've ever been to. It's just it's a really challenging place, you know. So
yeah,
even when you're used to riding single or double diamonds in other places,
yeah.
double diamond over there means completely something else. It had been a while for me since I had stood on top of a feature and just said like, nope, there is absolutely no way that I will ever do this.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
have yet to go there. I know that's exactly what's going to happen to me. I'm going to
you
get
know,
out there. It's just going to be like, nope.
the Pacific Northwest in general is amazing. Tiger Mountain by Seattle
Yeah,
in Issaquah, Washington, unbelievably cool. Obviously, when you think of places like Whistler, I like the making a bit of an effort to get to the top kind of feel. So Lord of the Squirrels is just an amazing mix of beautifully scenic and challenging on the way down. So that's why I say there's no way to really say what my favorite trail is. There's just so much good stuff to ride all over the place.
now with these awesome like just sketch lines and all this stuff, and YouTube channels, do you find because there's a lot of YouTubers? I mean, uh, there's a lot of YouTubers out there who are not pro level writers. But there's also a good amount of that are like pro level riders. Do you find it better for YouTube if you're going to have a YouTube channel? Obviously, if you want to start a YouTube channel and have fun.
Yeah.
Um, don't do it for the money or the sponsorships or stuff like that. But
Uh,
do you find that the better writers do better on YouTube, or that it doesn't really even matter?
if I had, I'm not sure, but if I had to kind of, give my uneducated opinion on it, I think there's a basic threshold that you got to get past. Like you can't be completely new, because then it makes the trails look different than how an average rider would ride
Slow.
them. But for an average rider, I don't think you need to be a pro. When you look at some of the pros channels, they're not necessarily
They're
that
really not.
large. And
Yeah, exactly.
there's people that are much better riders than the more popular channels. I think the personality and how they tell the story behind it is much more relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you
and
got Shane, who is horrible at writing, and his channel's
yeah,
doing awesome. I don't know if he's still on here listening.
always smashing the chain ring into stuff, and
Yeah. That's hilarious. And
uh,
then Kyle's terrible at writing. I mean,
and
he
then
really is. I'm
yeah,
not
and,
joking at all. He's garbage.
oh, I've ridden with him. He's kicked my butt last time we rode
I'm
together,
sure.
so
I'm
I
sure.
don't get to say that, man.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
No, but even for me, I just if there's something I can't ride, I'll just present that in the video as something that is part of the story, right? It's like it's this feature.
Yeah.
I really tried to do it. I gave it my all, and just I'm either scared of it or I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to get hurt or whatever. But I think it's important to tell that in the story. Don't just eliminate it and ignore the fact that it happened, because you may go back someday and then you'll get it. And if you didn't at the first time, tell that story, then there's like no redeeming feature that you're looking for. So I think it's really important to be honest with those things.
Yeah. So now, with these, what is the probably the hardest? Uh, Obviously, you back down from a lot, but what is the hardest and maybe sketchiest feature, drop, jump that you've done?
There was this trail in Whistler called Moose Knuckles, which is not exactly a legit trail, so I didn't include it in any videos. It was on Trail Forks. I didn't exactly know.
Uh huh.
And there was a chute in there that I kind of fell into and just had to ride out of it, that I would never consciously ride. It's just, the most insane, unbelievable thing, just because it's steep, it's full of rocks, and there's no way to slow down. And you got roots pointing, and basically at the bottom, it's just the bikes of those who have perished trying it before. So
Ghost of trail bikes
yeah,
past.
it was not necessarily a bigger jump or stuff like that, because with jumps for me or drops, I know very well where my line is. So when I see one, I will either just go for it or I won't. It doesn't tend to be a thing where I'll stop and think about it too much.
Now, do you find a lot, going off of Crankzilla sort of said, do you find a lot of trails that, or sections that you do walk? Do you find a lot of those when you're out and about
Yeah,
now?
I mean, yeah, obviously it definitely happens.
Yeah.
My philosophy is always it's better to ride tomorrow again
Mm-hmm.
than to get the specific little section. So it's what I said before. If I have to walk a section, I'll show that I walked it, and then I hope that whenever I come back and I get a chance to ride it again, I'll be able to ride it. And that has happened. If you see my Bennett Gap video, I've ridden that like a couple times, but probably two in video. And it has a staircase in the middle that the first time I saw it, I found it terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I went there, I actually got to ride it, and that's one of those things that, it's great because at the beginning it was hard.
Yeah. Have you
And
ridden Chuck Lennon?
yeah, but I went on a terrible day, so
Oh,
I rode everything there, including that incredibly sketchy drop that has a very short run up.
I just did that a couple of weeks ago, and
Wow,
it is super sketchy. But it's
that's super
when
sketchy.
you hit it, did you hit the drop?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
incredibly sketchy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
even though it's smooth and you know you have it, it's still legit. But that Wild Turkey there, they have one of those staircases,
Yeah,
and for the longest time, I would go there, every weekend for I don't know how many months straight. I could not hit. I would walk down that staircase
yeah.
until recently. That's the staircases, and you can hit it, but it's something. There's something weird about those things. I don't know. Maybe it's just
That's
me.
definitely in your head. We have one in Virginia Key as well, and it was the same thing. And then when you finally hit it, it's like, oh, that was
Yeah,
it.
we're like, really?
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You feel a rush when you hit it first, and then you're like, okay, this was stupid. I should have just
yeah.
been perfectly
I
fine.
if I remember correctly, the one at Czech Lennon, the sketchy part is that it leads into a skinny,
Yeah, it does.
very
It's a skinny
so
bridge.
Yeah, that one's a little bit scary.
over water that probably could have some gators in it.
Some gators in there.
So about your channel, your tagline. What's your tagline again? That you say at the end?
Oh, I usually I just go with happy riding, but it tends
Happy
to be
writing.
something like, if hope you had fun with me today. I'll see you for the next one and happy
Okay.
riding.
See, you're just like who said who didn't have one? Oh yeah, Matt Flatwoods didn't have one either. So everybody, that's everybody's homework. We're gonna help Stefano come up with a new
A
tagline
new
that
tagline
means
to end videos.
something. What is Kyle's? Get rowdy rowdy within
Rowdy within
reason.
reason.
So
Yeah,
we're
there
gonna
you
help
go.
you get in something like that. But we are at an hour, and this is Jeremy's Pedal Power Hour, not Jeremy's Pedal Power 2 hour. So, Stefano, I appreciate you so much for being
Um,
on the show or live stream with me. Everybody, make sure you go to his channel, get on there, go subscribe to him, watch his stuff. He's got some awesome stuff on his channel, and I love watching him. So. Make sure you go check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel down in the description below. Um, thanks so much, man, for hopping
oh
on.
no,
And
I'm super happy to be here. I had a ton of fun, and I'm thankful, really thankful that you invited me to be part of your show.
oh, of course, no
Uh,
problem at all. I had a blast. And
it's really nice to look down at the chat and see all these familiar names from a ton of people that
isn't that
either
cool?
watch our channel or
I
I've
know.
interacted with at some point. So
Yeah,
it's always great. The community is what makes us worth it.
it completely does. It really does. That everybody talking, everybody loving everybody. It's not a bad community at all. I love it. So. But awesome, man. I appreciate it. You keep on riding. And like I say every single time, guys, make sure you lift up God, lift up life, lift up the adventure. I have my own tagline, and we're going to help Stefano find his someday.
We
Go
will,
check
we
out
will.
his channel. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks again, Stefano. You guys
Thank you,
have a good
Jeremy. It was
one.
a ton of fun.
God bless.
See you, everyone.
That's awesome, dude. Is it off? I think it's off. It's not off. Is it off? It's not off.